to seeing you again in our Unicity regional training, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. And we hope that everyone will be doing good as always, especially during this pandemic time. Today, our product specialist from Unicity Indonesia will share with us again about protein by the theme The Stage of Life. One of the fun fact that I know and that I just realized actually, beside the 50% of our body are made up of the water, few percentage of our body is also made up of protein. And our life, our time, is also contained of this few stage of life: the childhood time, the teens time, the adult time, and also the old age time. And let's figure it out together whether every stage in our life will need the same or different amount of protein. And at this time, Winda will help us to understand more about it, and eventually how our Unicity products will help and support us for the needs of proteins in every stage of our life. Without much of without much more overdue, I turn this time to Mrs. Winda.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pak Daniel. Thank you very much. And thank you for all of you who come and join with us tonight. So we've been told many times, or maybe we've heard many times, that it is suggested to have a nutritious, healthy, balanced diet every day in our life. And a healthy, balanced diet must contain both macronutrients and macronutrients. The macronutrients are the carbs, proteins, and also the fat, and while the micro ones are vitamins and minerals. And today we are going to talk about specifically the protein as a macronutrient, why it is important for every stage of life. Last week, my colleagues Claudia already discussed that everyone, regardless of age, even the newborns, they need protein, but the protein sources could be different. So why is this protein is part of an important diet? So it plays quite a big role in our body. Most of the function of proteins, I will remind you some of the function of protein in our body. It's a cell structure. So everything that makes up your body contains protein. In a smaller amount, we call them as amino acids. So it's from your bone, tissues, organs, everything that's in your brain, in your blood, everything contains protein. So we need this protein to make the cells. We need to replenish the damaged cells, and we need to renew the cells. And while people are growing, of course, they will make new tissues to grow, to get bigger. And these materials comes from protein. It makes mostly the structural tissue of our body. So about 20% of our total body weight, it contains majorly from protein. So if you want, if you maybe heard some of these compounds like the collagen, it's in our skin. The actin, the myosin, it is in our muscles. So the muscles here can move because there are proteins that act on it. It can make or produce different kinds of metabolism products, such as the enzymes that we use for our digestion mostly, and then make several hormones, Blood cells also acts as a carrier. It means that the protein also used by our body to carry other nutrients to different parts of our body. And it's also acts as an immune system. If you ever heard about immunoglobulins, recently that immune system has become the highlight because everyone is afraid of getting sick. Everyone is afraid of the COVID, the virus. So immune system, if you want to have a good immune system, then you need to build those immune system with good protein amount. It's also involved in the balance of our body. We call them as homeostasis. So one example is the albumin level. Albumin comes from a protein. It is also a protein. So one function of albumin is to maintain the pH, the acidity of our blood. Other thing, protein can be found also in our brain. The brain, our mind process things differently. So it affects indirectly for your mental health, for your mental state. And most importantly, what you need to do every day, you have metabolism, you need energy, right? You need fuel. Protein provides fuel for our body. And it is not as big as the fat fuels, but the amount of protein in your body is converted as around 4 kilocalories per grams. So when we want to have a diet that is low in calorie but provides a long term of energy, then we can go and we can opt for protein sources. Now, what about the protein that I talked previously? The protein that we need since we are born. What are they and how much protein should we consume every day? Since babies are born until it reaches the childhood, the teenager stage, body is growing, right? So this protein plays vital role, the essential roles for growth. And if we look here, what will happen if kids, children, these teenagers doesn't have enough protein? So mostly there will be lack of energy. Some of the muscles doesn't act as it's supposed to be. So it can cause some muscle weakness. Um, Babies cannot move very actively. And sometimes we can see that some babies are quite lethargic. Other thing, during the growth phase, from the baby to toddler or infants, they will have different sort of problems from low weight or not enough height or shorter than the average kids on their age. So they will have different kinds of problems with growth. Mostly like stunting is quite common. And what parents fear the most are the low immune response. So these kids can easily get sick or ill. If we look in the table here, this table comes from the WHO joint reports. So even babies, the newborns, they need a lot amount of protein to grow. So look at these numbers that I circle. Newborns can need up to almost 2 grams per kilogram of its body weight. So if we can calculate about the total protein amount that they need, of course it's not much, but the amount per kilogram body weight itself is really high. So they will need this protein to grow because during the first 3 years of life, around 1,000 days of life, the growth spurt is really fast. So they need a good amount of nutrients, maybe not from food itself, but from the mothers as well. So when pregnant women or the breastfeeding women having babies, they need to pay more attention with their, of course, macronutrients intake and all micronutrients intake. When we look at the babies, when they grow from 1 years old and above, the total protein amount they need become less. And that will be the same when they reach the teen stage or the adulthood. But when we count total the protein needs for these kids, it's still a lot. And it means that it says that it is the safe level of protein intake. So it means that when you take this a bit more or less, then it will be fine. But remember, lack of protein, lack of these macronutrients can cause several health problems, especially in growing kids. How about the teenagers? Because these teenagers are usually more active, right? And they do a lot of exercise. Teenagers also study a lot. Maybe they do a lot of other activities throughout the days. So teenagers usually would require up to 1 gram per kilogram of protein per day. And this total amount of protein will grow rapidly as they grow. The growth spurt usually happens around 12 years old for boys up to the 18 years old. And for girls, they can start around approximately the same, 14 to 16. Then they will need more protein, they will need more nutrients, more energy, and everything that can help them, can support them with their growth. The tissue growth, the bone growth, and with their brains, they also use a lot of it to study, to learn new things. So it is important that we have sufficient amount to provide for our teenage kids. And see there, I underline this, the small writings at the point C. So this protein amount needs the quality and digestibility of milk or egg, which has the PDCAAs of 1. 1 is the maximum amount. So means that if these kids eat something, other protein sources that doesn't have PDCAs of 1, means that they need to take more, to have more protein source food in order to be able to fulfill their daily requirement. And when we grow older, we became adults, and even growing become an elderly. So this protein is still needed, of course, maybe not as much as the growing kids, but we still need them, and we need them for maintenance. And the requirement could be different. These proteins will act as I think will act as a fuel for us to replace the damaged cells. Because when we start the aging process, then everything will be degrading very quickly. So this protein helps us with the slowing the aging process. If we lack of protein in the long term, it is possible that adults and moreover the elderly will have the muscle weakness. So usually it happens with elderly because they don't eat much anymore, means that they don't have the enough macronutrients required throughout the day. So it will cause the long-term malnourishment, and it eventually cause muscle weakness. So that's why usually or the older people or the elderly are prone or risk to fall. And of course, if you don't have enough good nutrients that needed for your body every day for your metabolism, then the risk of disease increases. So the risk of disease could be the chronic disease that we discussed last week about the type 2 diabetes, the heart disease, the chronic kidney disease. So these kind of diseases can develop as we age because you know that our organs doesn't work like 100% anymore. So in this graph, you can see how our muscles start degrading when we start getting old. Since the baby's born and going into the teenager, the growth spurt really rapid, then the muscles start to develop nicely. And it reached the peak at around 30 years old. So this is the best time during the, I think, when the kids starts growing until the peak time, it is the best time to provide a good quality protein because the body will takes up everything, all the protein sources that goes into the body can be absorbed very quickly, and it helps very well with developing the muscle strength. But what happened when you go to 40 years old? The muscle starts aging. And when this happens, what we can do is to actually slow the aging process. We cannot avoid the aging. It is something that will happen eventually, but we can help this aging process better by one of the way is to put a dietary changes. So eat better eventually. And having extra protein up to 20 grams per day is still safe. Like my colleague say last week that 20 grams protein daily is actually good for us. So maybe when you are 40-ish, you can start to make some changes with your daily protein intake. So it helps with the muscles, with the regeneration of the muscle cells. And when we are above 40, the muscle will start to decrease and cause muscle weakness. And the percent of muscle mass strength can decrease up to 50%. That's a lot. So it's maybe it can be easier if we think like when we are young and we do a lot of weightlifting, maybe we can do some weight lift with 100 kg barbell. But when we are 50 years old and above, to actually lift 100 kg barbell takes more effort. And especially it is impossible to do if you don't practice or do the exercise every day. So that's why it is really important, especially for the aging people, the aging generation, to pay more attention on their macronutrients intake, especially the protein. And I think the purpose of the aging generation to have a good and balanced diet, a good micro and macronutrient supply is to maintain the strong, healthy, and good quality of life. People or the older people, the elderly, it is good if they have independence with themselves. So they are getting older, but they can still able have the independence, have the freedom to do things on their own. So it also affect their quality of life. And these proteins for the sorry, and this protein for the older generation actually plays not only with the strength, but it also helps with developing the immune system that is needed. Just like the newborn babies, just like kids, if they don't have enough immune system in their body, so they will get sick very easily. It happens the same with the elderly too. So basically we can say that elderly are just kids in the bigger size body. So that's why we need to pay more attention if we have older people living with us, and paying more attention with their intake because they cannot eat a lot anymore. So whatever goes into their body must be nutritious, must be nutrient dense, although it's only in small amount. And this extra protein can help with reducing the disease risk, helps with bones formation, with providing bone density, so it avoids fracture. Usually that elderly is prone to fall because of their muscle weakness as the muscle aging. So when they prone to fall, there is also possibility that the bones will be fractured. So these also will help with increase the mobility and reduce the risk of fall. And protein has been proven to help the brain works better. So it helps also regulate the mental health. So the two most common mental health are mood swings. This is the mild one, and also depression. But there are other things that usually the elderly will experience, such as dementia. And if these older generation have dementia, also it's burden for them and burden for their family who take care of them. Protein also can help with vision, with the appearance. So the body function can still work better with the older age. And others, many things that can be a good advantage of having a good protein. So how many should I have a day? For adult that is more than 18 years old, usually can take 0.8 to 1 gram per kg body weight per day. But for the older people, those who are 50 years old or more, an extra protein intake up to 1.2 gram per kg of body weight is beneficial for them. Of course, to maintain a healthy, strong, and good quality of life. And just like kids, the breastfeeding, the lactating, and anyone that recover from any illness have a special protein requirements, and it can reach up to 2 gram per kg. And if the illness is a chronic disease or that involves chronic malnutrition, the protein requirement may be a lot higher than 2 grams per kg of body weight. So usually when people have the special protein needs, uh, it's best to consult with a specialist, a doctor, a nutritionist, a dietitian. So people with this certain condition will be able to cope up with their conditions. How about the elite athletes? This is also one part where the protein plays a major role. For elite athletes, they require much more protein than we can ever imagine. So probably if you join us next week, we will discuss deeper about the athlete needs. Not only the elite athletes, of course, but people who usually have high intensity exercise and high frequency exercise, they will need more than what the regular healthy adults will need. So just stay tuned. Don't forget to join again next week. We will discuss more about the protein for people who are very active. And it is suggested that minimum of 10% daily calories comes from the protein. So let's say with a regular diet of 2,000 kilocalories. So around 200 calorie minimum must come from protein. And protein is also a slow burning fuel. It's different with carbohydrate or with fat. Carbohydrates are usually the quick burning fuel. That's why people on marathons probably drink the sugary water, but not protein. It works differently. And it means that the protein provide more energy in the long term. And this protein, in the picture, these are the sources of protein that you can have from the wholesome food. So it comes from plant-based and animal-based. But if you are vegetarian or you are vegan, there are also good protein sources that you can have. So green leafy vegetables, legumes like lentils, beans, they are good sources of protein too. Nuts and seeds and grains. The favorite nowadays, probably the quinoa, which is the pseudo grain. It's still gaining its popularity up to now. And other things like the shakes and bars, you can put like Snap, LC Snap, the make shakes from LC Essen or LC base and everything. And some of the dairy products, they contain also good amount of protein. So we mentioned about PDCAAs before. What is PDCAAs? PDCAA stands for the Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score, which means that it is the amount of protein that is digestible by our body and can be used by our body. So some of the food products, they have a perfect score of 1, which means that everything that goes into the body, the protein can be used by the body directly. And some of them, the protein might not be available. So when the food goes into our body, it will be the protein will be broken down into amino acid. Some of the amino acids are quite complete if we can get them from these 4 food ingredients, like the milk protein concentrate, the whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, and also soy protein isolate. So you can get good amount of amino acids, especially the essential amino acids from these foods. But if you take other food, such as the beef or the rice or the peas, then it is not complete. Means that there are limiting amino acids. We will need to give to complement some extra protein from other food sources in order to fulfill the daily requirement of our protein needs. So that's why these four food, the whey protein, they are very good sources of protein. They are a very good quality with the perfect PDCA score of 1 compared to other food ingredients. And if you look, if you have maybe tried one of these products from Unicity, Unicity provides products that are good quality protein. So most of these products, actually it's all of these products, the protein products from Unicity have the PDCA score 1. And our newly addition to the Unicity protein family, which is LC Build, it contains a good amount of protein with the good quality protein. It is made of whey protein isolate. So one sachet of this can provide you with 13 grams of protein. This is also fairly easy to digest. So let's say you have an elderly at home who doesn't eat much and need good amount of protein because they just recently ill or sick and need to recover. So they can you can also provide them with good amount of protein. And it has low carbohydrate with total carbs of 1 gram, which means it doesn't contain sugar at all, and small amount of fat. So with this, we can get clean and pure protein. And actually not only for elderly, but LC Build is suitable for everyone. So not only just people who are highly active like the athletes, but you can have LC Build for daily extra protein intake. So it can be taken any time of the day. It acts as a booster. Maybe for the growing teenager can also take this LC Build because it contains only pure protein from whey protein isolate. What about the other protein products from Unicity? Of course, with the LC Build, it can be taken by anybody because it has mostly just protein. So for the kids, for the older people, for the adults, for us, we can take 1 sachet a day for an extra protein intake. And this is also keto friendly because there are no sugar in it. What about the other LC base? Well, LC base have some fat in it, but of course it is the good fat, the MCT, and it is also low in carbohydrate. So if we compare the amount of the protein in the LC Build and versus LC base provides more protein, more fat, and a bit more carbohydrate than the LC Build, although it is still low in carbohydrate. So for people who wants to have a caloric controlled meal, you can take the LC base. So on top the LC base, you can take the LC Build to add more protein to it. But when you take LC base and you don't have any meal at all, that's already complete because LC base is designed as a meal replacement. It has complete amounts of the macronutrient as well as the micronutrients needed for our body. And it helps you with the burning fat and helps also with weight loss and still keto friendly. And what about the other products? This product is mixed of whey protein concentrate, and also some contain soy proteins, but still these products have PDCAs of 1. These contain the moderate amount of carbohydrate, a bit lower, as well as in total calorie, also a bit lower than LC base. Still low fat, but if you want to have some weight loss program, or if you feel like you have too much intake of calorie throughout the day, then you can do a calorie control with this product, the LC vanilla or LC chocolate. So you can use it for different occasion. And the last one, this is mostly for muscle building, for bulking, and for sports people. So quadplex are the whey protein isolate. Actually, the content of the quadplex and LC build are both whey protein isolate, but quadplex have much higher protein content than the LC build. That's why it is specifically used for the sports people. It is also contains some BCAA. BCAA usually helps with muscle recovery. It lower the soreness of your muscle after the exercise. Also, it has some other vitamins that helps with the recovery, so you don't have to wait too long until you do the next exercise regime. Okay, so these are the different types of Unicity protein range, and the middle ones, the LC base, Unicity LC, and LC vanilla are the meal replacement if you want to have a calorie control. And the build and quadplex are the additional protein intake for you that you can take throughout the day. And if you are not doing some heavy exercise or high intensity exercise, or maybe you want to give an extra protein intake around 20 grams per day, then you can use the LC build. But if you are into sports, then you can take quadplex. So you can also combine the LC build with other Unicity products. It is safe, and it can work wonderfully if you take them together. You can have this LC base with Unimate fuel or just with the regular Unimate. It is still low in carbs and actually still keto friendly. And if you are maybe you are in a diet or you want to have some weight loss, you can take this and combine it with other Unicity products that will help you with exercise, with giving energy booster for your exercise. All right, so I guess that's it. And hopefully with the new product LC build that is available now in Unicity, Singapore and Malaysia, you can start with using this LC build as an additional good source of protein. Yeah. If any of you have any questions, please write them down on the chat box. I'll stop sharing. Okay. Does LC build available in Malaysia? Well, I think LC build is available in Singapore. I'm not sure with Malaysia. Yes, that's true. LC build has one less than 1 gram of carbs actually. So it is a low carbohydrate, low fat, and high in protein that you can use for extra protein intake only. Yes, the ingredients in LC Build, they don't include any sugar. It's different like in LC chocolate with maybe some sugar in it, and maybe the carbohydrate is not always sugar. Carbohydrate could be fibers. So when you look at the nutrition panel and you see some carbohydrate, it means that it's not always the sugar that's in it. It could be some fibers that is in the product. Does anyone can drink Quadplex, even not the sports person? Quadplex is very versatile product. So although you don't do high intensity sport, you can still take Quadplex. What makes it different between the regular person doing exercise versus the athletes are the amount of Quadplex they need to take. So if you are doing exercise, going to the gym, then you can take the Quadplex right after you finish your exercise session to help you with avoiding or reducing the muscle soreness, the DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. But if you are an elite athlete, maybe you need to take Quadplex more. Maybe you can take before, during, or after the exercise, and probably several hours take again when you need to recover as fast as possible, because you need to have other exercise session or other practice session the next day. So the amount of quadplex that you need, the regular people need versus the elite athletes, of course, different, but these products can be taken by anyone. Uh, LC Build is replacement for LC Magna. So I think LC Build and LC Magna are categorized as different product. LC Magna, as far as I know, is for meal replacement. It means that it's not only containing protein, but also contain some other vitamins and minerals that helps with meeting your requirement as a meal. But LC Build is specifically to add some extra good quality protein into your daily requirement. Okay. And for complete breakfast, do we need to take LC Build plus LC chocolate, or purely LC Build will do? Yes. So when you take LC Build, you only get the protein. If you have a full meal breakfast, then you take only LC Build is enough. But if you don't eat any breakfast at all, you need to use the LC chocolate plus the LC Build to complete your meal for your breakfast. Um, is it okay to mix Quadplex with any of the lean complete products? Is that recommended when one wants more protein in his liquid milk? Yes, of course. And then that is the easiest way, the simplest way you can get extra protein with a good quality one. And you can mix the quadplex with the lean complete product, whether it's a lean complete, the lean complete chocolate or lean complete vanilla, you can mix the quadplex. Yep, especially people who want to do some bulking, muscle bulking, then it is the easiest way and it is the best way to get those extra protein throughout the day. um, does Unicity have any product for person which is skin itchy person? um, I think you need to know first what kind of skin disease that this person have, because fresh skin, dry skin, there might be different cause to this skin condition. But yes, we do have some products, good products that helps with skin. The topical use like the We have Niagen body oil, and then we have also the conditioner, body lotion, and the Niagen products also help topically with the skin condition, and products like chlorophyll powder, spirulina, it also helps with clearing the system from any build of toxin that can eventually help with the skin. And then also there are Niagen collagen that helps with skin cell regeneration. So there are a lot of products in Unicity that we can offer, but first you need to know what kind of skin disease or skin problem this person have. For people who has a joint issue, how LC base and unimatte fuel help in building the muscle? LC complete can help to build muscle. Yes, basically all the Unicity protein products, the LC family, not only the LC vanilla, but chocolate, LC base, LC snap, they can help with building muscles. Usually when people are getting older and then they have problems with their joint, they have problems with their muscle weakness, then actually this muscle weakness will impact also on their joint health. So it is good to provide them with a good quality protein, good amount of protein. So basically, if the person is 50 years old or more, you can count 1.2 gram times the body weight of that person, and then count in total how many protein he or she needs throughout the day. And on top of that, if this person have a chronic joint issues, maybe giving him or giving her some enzyme, the coenzyme Q10, also omega-3 resolve. It will helps with the pain, the like maybe joint arthritis or joint pains, and it will help with reducing the inflammation happening around the joint. So not only the LC, the protein products, but also other products from Unicity can also help with the joint problems. We also have different other products that good for joint health, like the joint mobility or Colaflex. It helps with production of the uh, fluid, the joint fluid. So yeah, to combine all of these products and having them regularly might help with alleviating the symptoms of joint inflammation. You're welcome. Thank you. Is there any other questions? Okay, I don't think there are any other questions. Thank you very much for joining the training tonight. And don't forget, if you are more into sports people, then you can join our training next Tuesday. We will discuss more about protein for highly active people. Okay, everybody, then thank you very much for your time. I'll see you again and hope everyone is healthy, happy, and safe. Good evening.